Hey guys, we are back with another event space video. This channel is dedicated to everything event space. We're talking contracts, we're talking pricing, we're talking extra events, we're talking hosting your own events, we're talking marketing, both traditional and digital marketing. Okay, startup, management, all of the things. If this checks any of your boxes, I want y'all to subscribe to my channel. Okay. If you don't know who I am, I'm Zia, Build the Business You Love. And I just love that stuff. I love it. I love the small business startup stuff. I love teaching people how to start event-based businesses and teaching people how to start just businesses in general. That's what I do. I enjoy it. And, today we're going to be talking about part 2, okay, of selling an event-based business and purchasing. I can't hold up that finger. And purchasing an event-based business, the questions that you need to ask if you are buying one, and the questions you need to have answers to, okay, if you are selling one. And this video is starting right now. All right, guys, so we're back. Okay, I have a lot of energy today and I love it. All right, so guys, we already did part 1, okay, of selling an event-based business, questions you need to ask. This is part 2. We're gonna try to keep it short. The other one was kind of long, but I got a lot to talk about. Okay, there's a lot of questions that needs to be asked if you're selling or if you're buying an event space. Okay, any business in general, you need to know a lot of information to see if it's a good business decision, to see if your investment is going to pay off, to see if your ROI is going to ROI. Okay, so that's what we're going to be talking about today. And we already went over part 1 of this video. If you didn't check out part 1, be sure to check out part 1 of the video. And now we're going to go into part 2, and we're going to be talking about leases, legal compliance, and transition support. Okay, so I'm going to try to breeze through this, guys, because the video before was kind of long. It's kind of long. This one may seem long too, but we're going to get into it because these are things you guys need to know. If you don't already know, because I need to put this plug in, I have an event space course, okay? It teaches you how to start, operate, and manage, okay? It's affordable. It's not one of those $3,000 courses. And people are actually starting up their event space from it, making sure the structure is right, making sure their funding is good, and we doing the daggone thing, okay? Let's get into it. So we're going to continue with the legal compliance. And a couple questions that I need you guys to have answers to if you're selling, or ask if you're buying, is this business compliant with local laws and regulations? Because let's face it, people are just popping up event spaces everywhere, right? All of them ain't in compliance. Let's keep it real, okay? Is it in compliance? Did you get your permits? If you had to get an architect, did you get one? Did you have to get your plans drawn? If you had to get your plans drawn, did you get them drawn? Did you have to get your C of O changed? Is everything that needs to be on the walls, okay? You need to check to make sure that it meets those compliance issues. So things like zoning, occupancy, permits, is it up to standard? Even if you have a liquor license, is that up to standard? Is it about to expire? Do they have violations? I mentioned that a little bit in the first video, right? But you need to know these things, okay? Next question you need to ask is, are your licenses and permits current? Is it, like I said, about to expire? Do you have a food service involved in your event space business? What does that license look like? And usually these licenses are attached to the person in the business with a lot of states and counties. So you got to double check to make sure that if the sale comes with or can come with the liquor license or can come with the food service license, things like that, right? What insurance policies are in place? Do you have any, did you make any claims on a policy? Are they willing to take on me as a client, as a buyer? Because I'll tell you guys, Insurance companies are losing money these days, so they're doing a lot of stuff, guys, so that you are not able to get business insurance. And it doesn't stop there. It's also home insurance, boat insurance, car insurance. You got to meet certain standards these days because they're getting picky. Okay, they're getting picky. So make sure that you check for liability, you check the property, you're checking for relevant insurance policies that may exist, and if any claims have been on them, okay, filed on them. Also, you want to know, is the business's name and branding included in the sale? That's important. If somebody is selling you a business, they're really selling you the business and the brand, okay? You come to that same business, think you're going to reopen, establish a new brand, a new look, new colors, new brand fonts and brand textures and brand voices. Things look different to the average customer that was patronizing that business before. Things are going to look different and it's going to feel different. They may or may not welcome that difference. So you need to establish the fact that, if they have any trademarks, if they have any logos, brandings, is that part of the purchase? Do you want it to be part of the purchase? You may want to create your own brand. You may want to do something different. Okay. Maybe that brand wasn't working for them. Okay. Things to consider again. Next, you want to go over, can you conduct due diligence? You want to ensure that you have access to all the necessary documents, records before you finalize the deal. Okay. Make sure, and like I mentioned before, a lawyer won't hurt in this particular transaction. Okay. I actually recommend you getting a lawyer. Recommend you getting some sort of legal assistance because it can be a headache, especially if you are purchasing something, a business, and the business isn't doing what it needs to be done, and you're realizing as an afterthought, because hindsight is always 2020, right? You realizing as an afterthought, I should have did this, I should have asked that, I should have looked into this. They have attorneys for that, right? Yeah. So you want to make sure you do your due diligence and understand that what warranties and guarantees are also included in the sale. Sometimes that old owner may have given some people, some customers, clients, vendors, warranties, guarantees, certain agreements, okay? You need to know that about the equipment, about client bookings, about business performance, okay? You need to know these things, okay? Now, let's talk about that lease, because you don't have a business, an event space business, without a property. It's one of the hardest things or aspects of the business to start, okay? You need to be able to have access to that lease, okay? You need to be able to see if that lease is transferable. You need to confirm, okay, that if you take over this lease, will it have complications? What does this landlord do? I'm big on those hidden, the hidden emotions and the hidden feelings between the communications between the landlord and the current tenant, right? How are they acting toward each other? Like, what is it? Animosity? Is it them feelings? Is there some tension there? Because you're gonna feel it, right? So you want to see, does it make sense to even take over this lease in the first place? And if so, is it going to be any complications? Is this landlord a bum? Does the landlord take care of what they have to take care of? Some people try to sell a business because the HVAC is out, and the HVAC is $30,000 because they signed a trash lease, okay? And the landlord is telling them that they have to be responsible for it. It could be anything. We have to ask these questions, okay? What are the lease terms that was involved? Okay. If the business isn't doing good, then it could be that the landlord is requiring them to get another tenant for them so they can be off the hook. That happens too. Okay. So all these questions, guys, you got to ask. Okay. So, and of course you got to get a copy of that lease. Okay. So what are the lease's terms, the length of the lease, the renewal options? Okay. The rent amount, the annual increases, what was included in the lease when you got there versus now. because it may be different. Okay, the landlord may have said, oh, we're going to give you such and such month free, and then those months we're going to put on the back end. It's so many things that could have happened that you don't know. Okay, are there any restrictions to the lease? You got to verify that zoning, verify that permit, verify that lease, okay? Because it may not be something that's on the zoning and permit side or C of O side, but it may be something on that leases side where they say, oh, you can't have more than 50 people, even though the C of O says that you can have 150. Come on now, all right? The condition of the property, you need to request a thorough inspection. Identifying any repairs, any upgrades, okay? Anything that they may be hiding, just like you would in a home when you're purchasing a home, okay? Who's responsible for maintenance and repairs? This is in the lease. Now, this would be the time to make any provisions to that lease. If you see that in the lease that they're saying, oh, well, you're responsible for the HVAC up until this amount of time, and you're like, oh, or this, sorry, you're responsible for this HVAC up until this amount of money. We know HVAC systems for commercial property costs, okay? We know that's a costly thing. So you want to make sure that now that we're revising the lease potentially, or if you're just taking over the lease, it just may be the same contractual agreement. But see what you can get in there for yourself, okay? Because don't forget, and I mentioned this in my course, the lease is a what? A landlord's lease. That lease is for that landlord. It's to cater to the landlord, not to you as a tenant, okay? So you got to keep that stuff in mind. Who's responsible for the maintenance and the repairs? So certain leases require certain things, right? Triple net leases, double net leases, different leases have different requirements. Some leases will say for the higher up leases, and if you are in a higher up building, then they'll say, okay, well, we'll take care of, certain repairs, certain things. A lot of times, especially with these newer leases, they're not taking care of nothing. Like I said, it's the landlord's lease. They want the tenant to take care of everything. You want to make sure that the landlord is on board with whatever transitions you're trying to make, whatever changes you're trying to make. They got to be on board, because guess what? If you're applying for that liquor license that maybe that old business did not have, they have to sign off on it. So don't think you come in there doing something different without that landlord's permission. Okay, you still have to go through the same process as if you would have if you were starting off on your own. Go through that same process. Okay. Are there any pending rent or property disputes? You have any issues with your neighbors, your commercial neighbors? Things that you need to know. Okay, let's face it. What an event-based business is noisy. It can be noisy. It can, depending on the clientele you have, it can be a bit of a nuisance to other businesses in the area. You got to see how they feel about that. Okay. So you need to know if, you need to know all these things, right? Also, the next one is, what are the utilities and the operational expenses? What does it look like? If you have my course, you know that the issue that I ran into, okay, in the early days was that now electric companies are putting in demand meters, which means that your cost, your rate for energy is based on demand. And it doesn't necessarily mean that it's based on, the amount that you use, but based on the demand that they expect that you're going to use. That can change your light bill from $400 a month to $2,500 a month. Okay. So listen, you need to know what that light bill looks like. Okay. You need to know what that light bill looks like. And you need to get a breakdown of all monthly costs. Okay. Get a breakdown of all, this should be in their financials, but you need to get a breakdown of all monthly costs. Ask them for the bills itself. So you can see how they were paying the bills, because if they're doing well, they're going to pay those bills. If they weren't doing well, excuse me. What are the restrictions on the signage and renovation or on the renovation? So some landlords will say, you can't do X, Y, and Z. We don't allow this. Or you have to have a sign that's this big with this font and this color. Excuse me. That may go against your branding. Excuse me. That may go against your branding. Okay. You need to know that, right? Then you need to know how to make the possible adjustments if that's something that you're willing to go through. Okay. What is the foot traffic in the parking situation? Just because it's parking there doesn't mean that it's yours. How accessible is it going to be to your clients? Because if it's in, say, for example, a mini mall, you may have a certain amount of designated spots per commercial property, right? This business may have a certain amount of spots. This business may have a certain amount of spots, and you get the leftovers. We don't know. You have to ask, okay? Lastly, guys, we're going to go over the transition support, and then we're out of this video. I'm sorry, it's a little bit long. I had a lot to say. Okay, I had to turn it into 2 videos. I probably should have made it into 3, but here we go. Transition support. We want to know, will the current owner provide training, okay, or support during this transition? So will you, as a current owner looking to sell your event space business, provide training for all the things that was going on that allowed you to manage and operate this business? Will this new owner have your training? Because what do we do when we go to a new job? The first thing we do is we sit there and we go through some sort of training. We go through orientation. We go to training. We go watching these videos, right? They say shadow this person. Look at these training videos on the computer. You're going to need some sort of support as well. And that can really be helpful as a seller. As a seller, you could say, you know what, I'm going to put it in the contract that I'm going to train you for a certain amount of hours. This is how we did this. This is how we do our contract. This is how we sit down with our customers. That can be an added bonus when selling your event space business, okay? Just for the sellers out there. Can I meet the team or employees? If you have a helper, okay, a cleaner, if you have someone who's been assisting you, an assistant, assisting your event space business, then yeah, you're going to want something like that, right? You're going to want to meet who they are. You're going to want to talk to them on the side and see what that experience was like for them, okay? Understanding that staff dynamic, communication, and how they function is a big deal. And are they willing to stay? They may say, hey, I don't come with this business. I don't come with the business. Okay. That's not what I do. I was just here for him because that was a friend of a friend of a friend. And I don't come with the business, but you know, I may be able to help you with X, Y, and Z. Or they may say, yeah, you know what? I can, you know, still help out this many hours. This is how I'm paid. This is the job duties that I'm responsible for. All those things you need to know. Lastly, what challenges should you expect after taking over? This is based on the transition, okay? Or within that transition category. Gain some insights from the seller to prepare for potential obstacles. We don't want to be blindsided by anything, okay? We want to have the best transition as possible, okay? So if you can get yourself a good seller, or if you're a seller and you're looking to sell your event space property, these are things you should offer, okay? If you're selling the event space business, because, you know, people will need that, you know, especially if they just getting started. You know, you may have someone who's just interested. They may have the coins to purchase an event space business that's already done. It's already done, right? It's done for them. But you still have to go through some of those learning pains, okay? Anyway, this video is pretty much done. Like I said, I have a course that teaches you how to start, operate, and manage an event space business, okay? If you're interested, it's affordable. Be sure to check it out in my link in bio or somewhere down here in the description. I'm Zia, build the business you love, and I hope you've learned something in this video. I hope that I've helped you in some way. I know it was long. It's approaching 20 minutes, but thank you guys so much for watching. I do. I appreciate you. Take care, guys. Thanks so much for watching. Later.